Welcome everybody to the Journey Well by Project Echelon. Just to kind of, before we get into this with Chris, with Bowser here, I want to kind of explain what the Journey Well is. And it's this idea that if you don't lower a bucket into a well, if there's no pull of that water, the rivulets run dry. Therefore, the well does not offer you anything. So I think in life, we have to go back to certain wells. In this case, it's a physical fitness. I mean, Project Echelon educates, equips, and empowers people through veterans through endurance sport, physical activity. And if we don't use a physical outlet, we're going to be imbalanced. And if we also don't engage our mind in some kind of that well, like writing, video games, any kind of thing that stimulates the mind, we're going to lose something there too. So how do we find our two wells? What are they? And if we don't come back to them, how do we end up in depression? How do we get out of that? All that kind of stuff with veterans. So this is what we're going to talk about. I'm a veteran, you're a veteran, and maybe we just get into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself, as if I don't know anything about your story.
Sure. Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Chris Bowser. I'm a 100% disabled vet. After 19 days in combat overseas, I almost lost my legs to a grenade, hence going by grenade legs. I am in school right now, getting my degree on for some computer networking. I am the guy from a viral photo with my dog, and
Which I see your
I
pug. I see his
yeah,
ear or something.
you got one of them right here, and then the other one's on the ground. And yeah, let's see what else. I play video games a bunch. When I'm not dealing with depressing things, then I also stream, and yeah, do all the things.
Well, I'm curious. So when your service time, obviously your deployment was cut short. What time in service did you have before that? Was it you had just gotten in? Had you been in for years or?
I joined in 2002. I did a basic training, and then I went to airborne school, which was right there in the same location, basically. So that was pretty simple. Then I did a year in Korea, and after that, I got to come back to Fort Campbell, where everyone was already deployed, and they asked me if I wanted to utilize my 6 months guaranteed stateside after doing a year deployment overseas in Korea, and I opted not to do that. So I said, if they're already over there, I want to be with them. The sooner I'm with them, the sooner we can connect as a unit. And I feel that one day in combat with someone is going to be better than a year in garrison with someone. Like, I'm going to connect with you more in that one day of my life literally being in your hands and vice versa. So I signed the waiver, went over, met my new group. Because I already had that year of training in Korea, they had me take over the gunner spot for one of the Humvees. We were escorting some ground troops, and someone beanbag tossed a grenade in the truck. Luckily, I caught it, broke both legs, but by me catching that blast and impact, that stopped 150 other grenades from going off
Mm.
and a tow missile. So it made it really easy to be okay with, and just, it could have been worse, but it wasn't. I don't let myself occupy my mind with what ifs. I refuse to do it because that just leads to spiraling. And why waste good opportunity? Like, you have the time, use it for good or use it for something not so good. And I prefer to use it for good.
That's solid, and I've learned recently because I've lived in the hypotheticals for a good many years, and
Hmm.
and I've realized that's a huge problem that I've had is the what ifs. And I'm curious, is that a lifelong philosophy you've had where you've just never let yourself go there, or is that something that's happened after the
I think it
incident?
was a conscious decision that I made after I got blown up. Like, oh, okay, this is shit. Oh, I mean, talk about the awareness. I When it happened, when I was laying on the ground and the medics ran up and started cutting my pants off to start treating me, right then and there, I made the decision not to look. I was like, this, if I make it, I don't want to have this picture in my head haunting me for years to come. And like, as I'm, you know, wounded, I'm not trying to get grabbed, but as I'm out there not doing so hot, I even had the fortitude to be like, you know what, I probably don't want to see this, so I'm just gonna I was cracking jokes the whole time. The medics were very confused when I was like making, do you have any allergic reactions to medicines? I'm like, not that I know of, but I got a bad reaction to grenades. like just dumb stuff,
Super
like dad
vulnerable to
jokes.
grenades.
Yeah, exactly. I have a little reaction whenever those come around.
You got an EpiPen for this?
Yeah, exactly.
No, sir. That's not going to help.
I apologize. No.
That's what it was funny because when this is not comparable, but when I was a kid, I was doing a Pinewood Derby, and my dad
Hmm.
was helping me learn this belt sander, and I'm sanding it, and then the Packers score a touchdown or something happens, so he leaves the room. I'm in a sweatshirt, my hand gets sucked into the belt sander, and proceeds to sand off all the skin on my wrist. But he had to watch through the end of the highlight before he checked on me. He thought something was wrong, but so I finally got my hand out by the time he came in. I was just sitting there like, and it's just all torn up, right? And so I was like not crying. I was just kind of in shock until I pulled the sleeve down to look at it. And then I was like,
Oh,
like,
ah,
so
oh my God.
that's when I learned that even getting tattoos, I rarely watch. I just let, the thing
You
happen.
just do your thing. I'll check out the finished result.
Yeah, we're on it. Yeah, that's interesting. And now getting into a little bit, this happens to you. Is that the end of your military service, or did you serve for a period of time after that?
I did. I got hit in 2003 in December. And then after that, I came back, started rehabilitating. And then once I was, you know, they said it would be a couple years before I would walk again. And I made it like my first steps without a walker after like 30 days.
Mm.
I was like, I got shit to do. I don't have 2.5 years to be laid up. So I was really pushing myself more than they wanted me to. But um, yeah, it was wild. I know I'm veering off from what you just asked,
No,
because
that's good.
you know how that goes.
Oh yeah, I thought that was right on target, and I'm curious because it's not the first I've heard of that where people. I don't have any physical real injuries. I got banged up, but nothing that they didn't say just get back in the gunner's hatch and we'll drive 8 hours when I probably should have been
Mhm.
triaged on some level.
Yeah, exactly,
You'll be
exactly.
fine.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
Just put some water on it, take a
Sir,
Tylenol, you'll be
I'm
fine.
not okay today. I'm very uncomfortable sitting in a chair. I'm like always moving because I'm just in constant kind of low level pain.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly. Like, all right, y'all. I'll frequently be like, they're just sitting here, and then like, oh, crack
what
my back a
happened?
little bit.
Oh,
What's wrong? Like, oh, I'm existing.
yeah, yeah,
I'm alive.
I'm just
It's
here.
nothing.
The medic said it was fine.
Yeah, as long as nothing pops too hard, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I had that with disability in filing for injury and stuff, and they were like, "Do you have a field report from the medics?" And I'm like, "What?"
I made sure to grab that. Like, hey,
Yeah.
CC me on that while I'm dying.
Hey Meyer, in about 5 years, I'm going to call you. I want to make sure that you have that filed away somewhere. The 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 line
Exactly.
items of the thrown out of the Humvee incident. You
When
got
I
it?
got blown up, everyone, like, I immediately was just taken off to hospitals, and I never saw anything of my gear or anything again. So they used a lot of my gear, and like they just dispersed it amongst themselves. And then when I went to clear, they were like, "Hey, by the way, you owe us like for a ton of stuff." And I'm like, "Hey, PS, I was a little blown up at the time. Could you maybe be not stupid?" And I had to get sworn statements from like 12 of my superiors that I actually did get blown up, and that I didn't have time to stop and collect all my TA-50 before I went to the hospital.
That's that's your version of my dog ate it.
I was like, what are
I
you
got
talking
blown
about?
up. Yeah,
Look at
right.
my legs. What are you saying? It was wild.
Well, how do you handle that? Like, is that a jarring thing for you, or is it kind of you? Are you just laugh through it?
Yeah. I got it. I got it bad, but in the turn, like in the world of getting it in war, I got it great. Like, I was immediately in shock. I, didn't have to engage anyone. I didn't know who to engage at the time, so I didn't want to just be crazy. Um, and yeah, it was the one funny thing is when a few days before, like this within a 19-day span, well, a few days before the injury, I went up to our arms room person and I was like, "Hey, I'm one of the gunners, and I think I'm supposed to have a side arm on my leg just for emergencies." And they're like, "You'll be fine. You don't need one." And then like 3 days later, I get hit by a grenade. Both of my mounted weapons are still there as I throw myself onto the ground so that the other vehicle can engage the target. And I was just so I'm just laying there on the bad side of the Humvee where the bad people are, or not, where the threat is. And it was a little intense, you know. I was like, hey, thanks, arms person. I really appreciate that.
I sure didn't need that at all. You never know what's going to happen. So that statement is always a funny one. You won't need it. How do you know?
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. You're all knowing. I didn't know. My
I didn't
bad.
realize you were God.
For
That's
real.
fantastic. So getting out of the service, did you, even though you have this philosophy of laughing through it and things, did you find there was a direction you were going that wasn't ideal? Were there problems popping up in your life, or
Oh
have
yeah,
you?
absolutely. I was sinking into a deep depression. Sorry, my dogs are playing right on me. Sank into a deep depression over like a decade. But the thing was, it was so gradual that I didn't notice it. And so I remember the way I described it to people is like when you go to a pig farm, it smells like pigs, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And so uh, when you get there, the smell is just like right in your face. But after a while of being exposed to it, you don't even notice it. And that was what my sinking into the depression was, is because I was living with it every day and it was influencing tiny things. I was like, I'm fine as I steadily declined. And like I was every day I was crying over something. Any commercials meant to elicit emotion worked. it,
Sure.
it was bad. I felt like I was always holding back tears and they were just ready at the drop of the hat to just like, and I'm okay with that. It's okay to cry. It's good to talk about your emotions and your feelings, and therapy is awesome. Um, but it was just not ideal to be doing it at every second. So after a few attempts at therapy, I stuck at it. I stuck with it, and I got linked up with a therapist who I clicked with. Got in. I think I'm shifting the story, but it's okay.
No, no, you're good.
It's important. And so uh, got in. Floodgates opened. The therapist was like, "Oh wow, okay, let's get you to see a psychiatrist." And when I did, they got me on Zoloft, and it literally gave me my life back. It helped me realize how much of the doom and gloom in my mind was literally the lack of a chemical, as opposed to like, yes, the bad is out there and it's doom and gloom. It's like, okay, your chemicals are a little wonky. Let's, and then the other thing I tell people, I'm sorry to constantly rant, but um, the thing I tell people all the time, hey, watch it, dogs.
It's a weird thing to tell people.
Yeah, watch it, dogs. Um, what was I saying? Oh, geez.
You have good chemicals. You're missing chemicals. The other thing you
Oh,
say to
yeah,
people.
absolutely. Thank you. If your eyes aren't working that well, you go see an eye doctor. If your ears aren't working great, you go see an ear doctor. And if your mind isn't working that great, you just go see a mind doctor. Like it's there's such this awful stigma around it. So I live a very transparent life when it comes to my mental health journey. That's the way I describe it because it is a journey, and it's I do a lot of I have a 24-hour policy with anyone who knows me online that they can reach out at any time of any day, ever, and I will stop what I'm doing if there's an emergency. If they're in a dark place, if they need to talk to someone, they're thinking about doing something bad, and I've had a couple dozen friends take me up on that, and so uh, it it's I keep going down the getting the help is very important, and ending that stigma is very important to me. So
Yeah.
like that's why I like the Project Echelon. Like, hey, mental health is a part of our journey as a nonprofit, as that's how, as opposed to trying to be tough and macho and like, oh no, we're fine, don't be a sissy, blah blah blah,
Mhm.
all that. Yeah, it's like, hey, this is a fact of life, and we understand that.
Yeah, I think that it was one of those things that it wasn't super macho, but it was when I was deployed, and there was a purpose to that because I mean there wasn't a lot of time to sit and cry. I think when things happened, I would always in the evening I would hide somewhere. I'd be on guard duty or something, and I would take like 3 minutes and I would just bawl. I would like pour it out, whatever. One time, one of my guys replaced me on guard and I was crying. And he's like, I'll give you 5 more minutes. Don't go back to the tent until you're good. And he supported me in that way. And it was like this little secret.
Hmm.
But then you come home and you don't always have that time, you don't even know, like, hey, all
Absolutely.
that trauma you stored, we need to, like to process that through therapy. and
Yeah.
and the big secret I learned was I went through 8 or 9 therapists before I found one that I clicked with. And then when I did, it was like there was nowhere I wouldn't go verbally, emotionally,
Mhm.
from my childhood, from whatever you want to. I trust you, I'm open. And then transparency beyond that has been my modus operandi as well, because I got nothing really to hide. And when
Yeah.
I do hide, that's when I get real depressed. It's not that I give all of my sadness to you, world, but if I'm
Mhm.
not honest, and sometimes that means stepping back and just being quiet for a little while, not just trying to be like, hey, Instagram, I'm kicking ass today, like
Yeah.
you expect me to be doing well, so here it is.
Yeah.
So
I struggle with that as well.
it's hard because you want to. And founded a nonprofit that, I feel like I have to be really on all the time. Like I can't have bad days, but I just had a bad couple of years where I
Mhm.
didn't smell the pig farm. And I was like, whoa, how sideways I got after 1 year is still unbelievable. And that's where I don't know what brought you to Project Echelon, how you found out about it, but I'm really curious if that physical piece is something that you're adding into your life in a way that you didn't realize you needed for a while, or
It
how did.
it really is. I have a neighbor who's into cycling. He's got a full kit, like cycling. I
Mhm.
have a mountain bike, and so he's taking me on some rides, and we've talked about it. I was like, I think there's some veteran programs, and I mentioned Project Echelon because it is the one that I've known of forever. And so I decided to reach out and see if I might be a good fit. And yeah, it is about being healthy. I've always been a fan of the idea that I would rather prevent illness rather than treat it. And I try to live my life in that sense. I try to eat healthy. I'm trying to, stay not I'm trying to what is the word? Be responsible? Is that it? I'm trying
Yeah,
to not
it's
be a piece of garbage. It's like I'm a grown up, I can do what I want, and then constantly excuses not healthy behavior.
yeah.
And
Well,
so uh once I got on that first ride, I got some of that feel good. And I live in Colorado, so it's gorgeous.
mm,
And it was just like, okay, this is it. This is the missing element. I thought I wanted to start running, trying it because I've always believed I was unable to run since the grenade. And so it was kind of like a really big, like, personal thing for me to want to run. But then my neighbor was like, screw that, dude. Why don't you do something low impact and go ride with me? And I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. And so I put on 20, 30 miles,
mhm,
and I was like, yes, okay, this is working.
mhm.
Went and got a helmet, got some, a couple of things to help pursue it. And now that I've invested that little bit into it, I'm like, yep, it's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a big transformation too, because as you're talking about even food choices, that's been the big roadblock for me in my past. And I've really been learning to take the shame out of it. And I have a coach, Adam Hill, who's phenomenal. And he it's actually funny, he has a triathlon, Extra Life Fitness, triathlon fitness. It's based off video games. So his logo is three digital hearts, like 8-bit, gaming kind of hearts and
Nice.
stuff. But
Nice.
level up fitness and all this stuff. And he's like, man, we just have to understand that food's not good or bad. It just is. And it
Mhm.
has a function. So what is the function? There's emotional, there's fuel, there's enjoyment. So, you look at this like, why am I eating this carrot right now? Well, I kind of enjoy it, but really, I know that I'm putting this in to fuel tomorrow's workout, or I'm trying
Mhm.
to recuperate my body. So this protein, this whatever, and then I go and have a double chocolate mousse little cup, and I'm like, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then if I ever find that I'm doing it because I'm emotional, I'm like, well, is there another way that I can do this that's not a cheesecake or something? Not
Yeah.
that that's bad. It's just I don't want to
What is this?
emotionally
What
connect.
is this treat really?
Yeah.
Yeah, satiating.
Yeah, what is your function here?
Yeah.
Cheesecake, whatever. And
Yeah. Exactly.
and then what do I
Exactly.
want out of life? And I'm realizing more and more is like, I don't need to be an elite athlete. Maybe you don't either, but the finding joy on the bike, the low
Mhm.
impact nature of it. I mean, what And you were talking too about depression being missing chemicals, but you're getting those chemicals on the bike too, yeah? Like you get those same.
Absolutely. As opposed to just being the hermit that I am,
Mhm.
just stay in my house because I can control the stress that I'm subjected to. I don't, if there's, you know what I mean? It's my little safe space, if you will. And so, but getting out of that, cycling is, I mean, it's exercising while nature enjoying. I mean, and also while taking care of my body and helping to stay as healthy as possible.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
that's
win, win, win,
interesting.
win.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said about your safe place, uh, and when we have a safe place, there's no growth really there. So, do you feel like finding something to get you outside of your comfort zone is opening up anything in your other areas of life? Have you seen any other enhancements since you started biking?
Absolutely. I normally carry everywhere I go. And I've been trying to figure out how to incorporate that with trying to cycle, getting a different type of holster or something to accommodate it. And just the last time I was like, I'm going to be on a bike trail. I don't think there's a great market for jacking cyclists right now. So maybe I can just push myself out of my comfort zone and ride without it. And I did.
Mhm.
And I made it fine. It was crazy.
That's that's really interesting. I've never heard anyone express that about cycling, but that's like a whole nother dynamic of cool to me. Not that
Absolutely.
not that there's nothing wrong with carrying,
No, sure.
but
Absolutely.
like the detachment of I need this to be safe
Yeah, it's
versus.
definitely like a mental crutch in a way.
Mhm.
Like I live near a store that I go to, and when I go there, I still want to take it. And there's sometimes where I'm just like, it's that battle between I don't need this to go get groceries versus bad things do happen, and I am an actual good guy, so I could hopefully be beneficial in a situation like that. Not
Mhm.
like a hero complex, but just it doesn't hurt to have good people around.
Yeah. How much of the
So.
supply sergeant not giving you a sidearm when you
Oh,
deployed factors into
one
that?
million percent the reason I carry is because that dude didn't give me a pistol when I got blown up.
Yeah.
I'm aware enough to know that like that definitely was a massive imprint onto, hey, guess what? You're gonna carry a gun.
For the rest of your life. Yes.
Yeah, it's silly, but uh yeah, it's not, I don't base my personality off of it.
No.
But I like to be secure in my scenarios.
So, okay, I got a question about this too because I want to talk about it. Video games. Uh, Me and myself, long time childhood. That was where I spent a lot of my time was in
Hmm.
virtual worlds and things like that. And I have my reasons, but I always enjoyed it. I still do. Like recently, I think last year I got a PS4 for the first time in years, maybe 10 years,
Nice.
having a gaming system, and I've been enjoying it. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on what the connection you have and your mental health even with video games personally to you.
I mean, oh, so at the beginning of the year, my dog, my pug, who is my best friend in the entire world, he started to have spinal issues. Like his back was hurting, he was yelping, he was very uncomfortable, and it was destroying me. And I wasn't on Zoloft at the time, so when that happened, I immediately called my therapist. Was like, hey, I know we just agreed that like I was doing all right, but I need Zoloft immediately. I need this immediately. I'm gonna lose it. My dog's back is hurting. 10 days later, I started the Zoloft. 10 days later, he's diagnosed with cancer. A bump that my roommate found was cancerous and wrecked. And luckily, I had Zoloft in my system just a little bit, even though it takes a little bit to get going. And hold on a second, can you not do this, dog? And so it was I saying
You had the little Zoloft in your system, dog
oh yeah,
cancer.
yeah, of course, the beginning of this year. And so when that all went down, it was just like it was over. I used to stream. I was streaming all during the pandemic. My Discord was popping. I have a bunch of friends, and that was really the highlight of my day. Would be do what needs to be done, and then Discord with the friends, and game and play Among Us and Call of Duty and all the fun things and just interact with people. And then when all of the stuff started happening at the beginning of this year with Dexter, I just fell off. I wasn't, that was the last thing on my mind. And as I started as things started to calm down here with him, I started to like game a little bit with my buddy, just with my one friend, like frequently. It was like a way to disconnect from the trauma and re just I don't know, escape the trauma, It's an escape. It's a great tool. And also I remember hearing studies on how playing video games such as Call of Duty or the FPSs can be therapeutic for combat vets. And I think it's like a sense of exposure therapy into that world again.
Yeah.
I've been always been fascinated by that statistic.
Yeah, okay, it's
Yeah.
funny you say that because first person shooters, I got back from God, I think it was basic and AIT or one of my times that I came home on leave for the first time and saw my old friends all at the bars, partying and that lifestyle. They had a house and it was, Call of Duty was the big game at that time. And I remember I was never really good at first person shooters and still am not. But then so I sit down and everybody's like, I want Beach on my team. And I'm like, hey, this is fantastic. And then I sucked real bad. And they got legit mad at me because and they go, weren't you in the army or something? I thought you'd be good. I'm like, yeah, we didn't have to worry
Give me
about
a real gun.
yeah, like this. I never had to invert my y-axis because I was all like, oh, I can't find how do I reload? D? What is it? The square? What is it? Like I never.
I just want one of those med packs, man. That's got to be great. You put a little bandage on your arm and you're full health.
Or yeah,
Cool.
or you just rest in a corner somewhere until you regenerate. You're like, okay,
I could have really used that.
That. I'm just gonna lay here for a minute, guys.
Just go on without me. I'll catch up.
But one thing about video games that I've really been interested in, I do like RPGs, and there's, I used to play God of War, the original ones.
Oh yeah.
And so you'd beat it on easy, then you'd beat it on moderate, hard, legendary, and you work up and you play the game over and over and you just get better at it. And the thing that I was like, man, this is cool is because every time you go up in difficulty, you get different rewards for certain achievements. So if I play everything on easy, I'll beat the game, I'll experience it, but I won't get everything out of it. So I started to be like, holy crap, like there's this application to life that depending on how much I want to push forward into it, just like in the video game, I'm going to get the legendary armor. I'm going to get, this perk. And then when I restart and go back into my life, I'll actually be like this badass dude, And so
totally.
I can stay on easy in life. We can all stay on easy, or we can get through it, go to medium and hard, and then reap those rewards. So it was like this mental manifestation of how I wanted to live my life, not not with the blades of chaos.
For real, it wouldn't be that bad though.
It doesn't seem like it would really work though. Like when you look at the modality of the stiff metal, yeah, freaking Loki. I mean, spoiler alert, my bad.
Oops.
I'll cut that one out. But I don't know, like as I say that, I mean, do you get that? Do you get that idea of seeing video games as almost you can learn life lessons through in some capacity?
Absolutely. I mean, even if it's just like the puzzle portion of the game, thinking outside the box, trying to see what they're really trying to get you, when they try to like nudge you towards the thing you're supposed to be doing, you don't get it, like trying to understand how they created that in a sense to direct you the direction they want you to go. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a really interesting, it's just something I've never talked to anybody about, but it almost seems childish when I bring it up to people. We're like, video games, you're 37, what you're playing, what, don't talk about video games. I'm like, dude, Guitar Hero saved my life.
I am a Guitar Hero god. I play Clone Hero all the time. That was one of the main things I streamed. Play on Expert, I shred. I not only play real guitar, but I play the plastic one too.
See, that's what I'm talking about, is you can play both. I played an Expert on Guitar Hero, and this guy at this party's like, you're like Eddie Van Halen. And I'm like, nowhere near it.
Yeah,
Pretty sure.
or not at all.
Hear me out. 5 buttons versus
Yeah.
an entire guitar. Very
What?
different skill sets.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. But yeah, man, that literally my favorite game. Well,
Mhm.
that Uncharted, which has all the puzzles and a great storyline,
Mhm.
and Call of Duty and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a safe place, I guess, too. And I told my wife I have a TBI, so I, have some degenerative brain stuff. Uh, and video games for me somehow made me feel capable again because I can do it and I can succeed at something, and it's something that not everybody can do. Like my wife can't play the
Hmm.
game, and I'm like, I can do this though. So it made me almost feel like, and I say this because I'm curious if it treated you the same way, that no matter what's going on in life, how uncapable I feel, the video game had this ability to make me feel like I can still be the old me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No matter how much life tries to change you, like you are still the gamer.
Hmm.
Like that will never change.
Yep. Even if you get blown up with grenades.
For real, for real. That was even more inspiration. I was like, well, now I'm laid up. Let me get some systems. Come on, let me get some sticks.
Well, shoot. I'm curious. What is it that you're looking at the future? What path, what course are you charting for yourself in these days? Or are you just kind of, I'm just trying to be here, man?
A little bit of both. The future, I want to keep going to school. It took me 4 tries in college before it stuck, and so I got to utilize my voc rehab before Chapter 31, VRNE, before it expired. I think it actually did expire, but I was close enough to the
Mm,
date that they let me in, and so I actually am taking it seriously, utilizing all the available resources I have, and that's working out. And then other than that, ready to start cycling a bunch.
yeah.
It's really been occupying my mind. I've been studying, watching all the YouTubes, watching all the videos for beginners, etiquette, how to not be that guy when you're out on the road.
Hmm.
Um, it's been fun. Like it's been a while since I've been an amateur at something that
Mm,
I am passionate about.
yeah. But if you have that passion, I mean, there's no real limits to what you can do with it. That's one of the things that we love about cycling at Project Echelon.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any goals with cycling? Is it just something you want to do, or do you hope someday to
I
do
want
a
to be
long
able
distance?
to. The long distance would be great. Um, I think just my endurance and my cardio are. I would really like to see those improve. I've always been very like I have asthma, and now living up in Colorado, it's a little bit thinner air,
Mm-hmm.
and so improving my cardio I think is the biggest one,
Yeah.
and then also just getting out of my house more. I really like to just stay in my own spot in my little cave and
Mm-hmm.
just do all the things that are fun to me with zero interruption.
Yeah.
And there's so much to do out there that I'm just missing out on because I did my 10 years of depression after the grenade in my cave. And so that just became my normal. And so trying to break out of that.
Yeah. That's a powerful statement because me too. Uh, Cycling when I was in my previous years of stuff, either it was unsafe where I was, people did not respect cyclists, flat tires because people threw bottles and all that kind of stuff. And then there was no real great routes. And then I was super depressed. And then now I'm in a place where there's actual routes to go and a huge cycling culture. So I'm trying to get out of my shell, my cave with you at the same time. So I'm honored to be, you know, counting you amongst our ranks. I'm glad you're with us at Project Echelon, and
Absolutely.
and I look forward to being able to help you in any way that I can. And our guys are always at the ready to help you and empower you in your goals, whatever they might be, because it's not always about elite cycling. There's a
Hmm.
lot of guys like you and me who we're just trying to live our best life and not just survive it, you know?
Hmm. Exactly. Instead of just sitting in the passenger seat, get back in control and steer where I want to go.
Yep. So, I mean, that's all I had for questions and conversation today. So, is there anything you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
Um,
Any message to the veterans who might hear and say, they don't know what to do to get started and they're just sitting in their depression?
yeah, absolutely. First, know that you're not alone. Know that there are resources out there. We actually have them a little bit easier than it would be if we were civilians to get a hold of people to talk to. Don't do the it's there are veterans out there who need it more than me. Don't do that because if everyone does that, no one's getting help. Um, the one big thing, if you're intimidated by therapy, or if it just seems like it's not your thing, like what I like to tell people is, especially with the combat vets that I deal with, you're a big tough person. You're nothing scares you, right? You've been through it all. You've seen it all. You macho, right? Cool. Go open up to a stranger about how you feel, since nothing scares you. Go
Hmm.
tell someone. Go face your traumas. Go face those demons. Stop letting them have control of the reins. You got to take the power back.
Yep. And that's where cycling, endurance sport, and moving our bodies that way gives us the chemicals to allow us to have those objective conversations. So I'm hoping that you continue to find all that and more through the start of your cycling journey. And again, I'm really happy to have you, to know you, to talk to you. And I look forward to more conversations in the future.
Absolutely. And by the way, I'm Grenade Legs on all socials. So if you want to follow my biking progress, check me out.
There we go. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up. And until next time, journey well, my friends.